right, it's 9 a.m., so I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the East Brandywine Township Board of Supervisors AM meeting held this Thursday, August 3rd, 2023, 9 a.m. I want to remind everybody a recording device will be in use during this meeting. Let's open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item 2 is public comments and agenda items. Rules for conduct of public meetings established by Resolution 2001-08 state that the time allocated to each individual making a comment shall be 3 minutes unless otherwise set by the presiding officer. Additional public comment may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer at the conclusion of the meeting. Okay, let's start with the minutes. Pardon me?
Want to offer it out first?
I'm sorry.
Offer it out first.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, public comment. I'm so used to seeing the same people. Is there any public comment? I forget that every time.
I assume that's on agenda items, right?
Yes, only on agenda items. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to adoption of the minutes. I've read the minutes, and I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jason, we heard that, that's good. Authorization to pay bills?
I make a motion to pay the necessity bills in front of us.
All right, I'll second that. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay. Under old business, not that there's nothing on the agenda, I just want to give an FYI for your information to the supervisors that the Planning Commission last night met and supported the zoning variance application for Ms. Mottershead, who's in the audience today. So there's nothing for us to do. They're supporting it. So that's just for your information. Are you all aware what that is? That's the accounting office down there across from Ramsey's Automotive.
Yes.
Okay. I'll move on then. New business. Block party at Wesley Lane. Mr. Revin.
Pursuant to our new policy related to block parties, before you this morning is an application to host a 20th anniversary celebration. The applicant, Doug Kaiser, is requesting that Wesley Lane be blocked between interesting. Lisa, I'm sorry to call on you here. The street addresses, I know it's Wellesley Lane, but between which locations?
He's requesting a block Wesley Lane between Cherry Grove and I guess it's going to be 27 Wesley. They're only blocking off a small portion of the road. Yeah, 22 and 27.
So, I draw your attention to the final 2 pages of the application materials in your packet. There's a narrative form Estimated attendance is 100 to 125 Hopewell residents. No outside guests are expected. No additional large gathering permit will be required. The time of the event is 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. And the date is September 9th, 2023. So this is the first application for a block party since the board amended the ordinance allowing a temporary closure of residential streets in the township. At this time, I'd respectfully request the Board of Supervisors make a motion to allow the application.
I make a motion to accept the application.
I'll second it. Is there any discussion? Jason, you want
Nope.
any discussion?
I'm okay.
All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
All right. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, under subdivision and zoning applications, we have Mr. Kelly out there? Yes, Mr. Kelly
Good morning.
out there to answer any questions we may have, and I guess we should start with the Nate's review letter.
Would you like me to project the?
Yeah, is Nate here?
No, he's in the field this morning, but he is in East Brandywine, but not here. He will be here. He is running late.
Okay. So, yes, can you fill in for him and?
All right, well, let me start with just an update. So this application is for, it's the McCausland Plank development is what we've been commonly referring to it. It's 89 units. This has appeared before this board and previous boards in a number of different formats. There was a special exception required for utility and road across the steep slopes area. There was a conditional use hearing that was required to allow the additional density, which is in the TND2 overlay over the R2 district. There was preliminary plan or conditional preliminary plan approval granted by the board. The application this morning is for conditional final plan approval. And Vic, do you, I actually can summarize a little bit more procedurally what's going on, or you can just take the reins and run with introducing the.
Go ahead, you're doing a great job.
All right. Okay, so last evening, the Planning Commission met and recommended that the Board of Supervisors grant conditional final plan approval to the application. The conditions that they attached to the recommendation appear before you in your packet this morning as resolution number 6 of 2023. It's hot off the press. It's also available on the website.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, as Luke indicated, you have before you proposed resolution number 6 of 2023, which has the effect of approving the application subject to conditions, and here comes Nick. And I can summarize those conditions for the board and the public and the applicant, if you would like me to do that now.
Yes, please.
So-
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, so the plan as last revised is titled Final Subdivision and Land Development Plan for McCausland Plank Tract, prepared by Commonwealth Engineers, dated March 31st, 2022, last revised July 7th, 2023. It has 34 plan sheets, and there also was submitted related reports and studies, and those collectively are the application. There are several background paragraphs which recite the information that Luke just conveyed, that they had a conditional use approval, they received zoning hearing board approval, they received preliminary plan approval, conditional back in October of last year, and it was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission last evening. So the first condition is the final plan, the project, and the applicant shall comply with all the comments and recommendations set forth in the latest Pannoni Review Letter. 2, the final plan, the project, and the applicant shall comply with all the comments and recommendations set forth in the Hydroterra Professionals' latest review letter. 3, the applicant shall obtain a water quality management permit for the sanitary sewer drip disposal system and shall design, obtain permits for, and construct at its expense all improvements required by the water quality management permit, including all improvements necessary for the conveyance to and disposal on the property of treated sanitary sewer effluent. The drip disposal system shall comply with all the comments and recommendations set forth in correspondence of Hydroterra Professionals dated June 20th, 2023. 4, a note shall be added to the landscape plan as follows. No trees or landscaping shall be planted within 10 feet of drip field tubing, the return sewer main, or the supply sewer main. Care shall be taken to avoid compaction on the drip field while planting trees or landscaping near the drip field. 5, the final plan shall be revised as set forth in electronic mail of Buckley Bryan Township Solicitor dated July 28, 2023. 6, a note shall be added to the final plan prohibiting blocking or interfering with access to the project by emergency vehicles during construction, including but not limited to parking of vehicles and storage of equipment and materials. 7, no signage plans have been reviewed or approved as part of the final plan. Any future signs to be installed on the property shall comply with all township ordinances and obtain approvals and permits except as may be modified by the Township Zoning Hearing Board. 8, the trail segment on the south side of the potential Reeseville Road extension in open space area B2 shall be eliminated to avoid trail users crossing the road extension. 9, the trail area in open space area A shall be surfaced with stone dust or chips. The trail area in open space B, as modified by condition 8 here and above, shall be surfaced with wood chips. 10, the board credits against the fee in lieu of open space being $178,000, 100% of the value of the recreational improvements, including the trails, to be constructed by the applicant at its expense on the property. The value is set forth on the amenity cost estimate prepared by the applicant, which will be attached to the resolution. And the value of the improvements exceeds the amount of the fee in lieu. Therefore, no fee in lieu of the set-aside of open space shall be required. 11, street names shall be approved by the United States Postal Service, Chester County Emergency Services, and the Township prior to recording in the final plan. 12, the applicant shall obtain all necessary PennDOT permits, including a highway occupancy and design, fund, and construct all improvements required by the permits. 13, the applicant shall revise the proposed homeowners association declaration to comply with any comments of the township engineer and solicitor, including those set forth in the Pannoni Review, including maintenance requirements for the riparian corridor and the open space. The applicant shall comply. 14, the applicant shall comply with any existing comments and recommendations of emergency management agencies related to the provision of emergency services. All easements and agreements, including but not limited to developers agreement, financial security agreement, and required financial security and stormwater operations and maintenance agreement necessary to complete and maintain the project shall be prepared by the applicant, submitted to the township review, and shall be satisfactory in form and substance to the township consultants in all respects. 16, the HOA declaration and a final plan note shall allocate a maximum impervious coverage limit to and depict a building and deck envelope for each lot. The declaration and note shall also prohibit applications for variance or other relief to the Township Zoning Hearing Board to exceed the allotted impervious coverage limitation or permit construction outside the building and deck envelope. 17, the applicant shall enter into a drainage improvement operations and maintenance agreement if any stormwater facilities are installed in the right-of-way of roads owned by the PennDOT. This agreement shall require the applicant and his successors in assignments and title to maintain, repair, and replace those stormwater facilities in perpetuity. 18, the board grants the waivers from the subdivision land development ordinance stormwater management ordinance listed on sheet 3 of the final plan. 19, to the extent that any of these conditions are determined to be invalid, the invalid conditions are severable, and the invalidity shall not affect the validity of the remaining conditions. 20, whether or not specific reference is made in any of the conditions of this decision, all conditions included in this resolution shall be complied with to the satisfaction of the township, and prior to the recording of the final plan with the recorder of Chester County. 21, this decision and the conditions included herein are binding on the applicant, his successors, and assigns an ownership of the property for the benefit of the township in general, and the ultimate users, property owners of the property. 22, no land disturbance or construction shall occur on the property until the plan is recorded. 23, this decision and the conditions hereof shall be accepted in writing by the applicant within 15 days of the date of this resolution, failing which the applicant shall be deemed denied by the Board of Supervisors to comply with the provisions of the Township zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, stormwater ordinance, as detailed in the Pannoni Review and Hydro Terror Review. Thank you.
I have one question, and I apologize if you covered it. Since we're using the plans submitted as final on July 7th, and the review letter was based on those plans dated July 28th, the plans on July 7th did not have those 10 parking spaces. I believe it only had 5.
You're correct. The 10 parking spaces are noted in the Pannoni Review, and what will happen if the board adopts this resolution and grants final approval, the applicant will comply with all the terms of the resolution, including the review letters, revise the plan, and will then show a later revision.
So it's okay.
And that's the plan that will be recorded.
All right.
I had a question as well pertaining to item number 9. The stone dust, have we used, and Jim's sitting right there, might be a great question for that. Have we used stone dust on any of the other trails?
No, we haven't, but it's commonly.
Okay.
The state uses it on all the trails near.
I think of stone dust as being, messy, muddy. If it's not compacted and stays compacted, then that's,
Well, at the meeting, we discussed stone dust or stone chips, and work out the details of the specifications.
and I wouldn't even necessarily have a problem if it was like more of a modified stone dust mixed with chips. I just, in past, I've always felt that stone dust just turned to mud, and it, if it's not constantly compacted, that's.
Yeah, well, I think we'll find something. I mean, the term I used last night at the planning commission was kind of crushed limestone.
Yeah.
And there's a way to install it properly. And
Right.
it's not maintenance free.
You still put a geothermal mat, you remove all the organic soil.
We'll make sure we come up with a good detail before.
Yeah,
we
that's all. Like I said, that little, no big deal.
Jason, you have questions?
Not really questions. I just think that there's just a lot of conditions. I mean, they don't really. So.
Maybe Mr. Kelly can comment whether they have any comments or objections to any of the conditions.
No objections to the conditions. I think they're all fairly standard and appropriate for this job.
Thank you.
And my concerns were addressed last night in the meeting and in the resolution. So I am okay, and I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept a resolution conditionally approving the final subdivision and land development plan of the McCausland Plank Track, resolution number 6 of 2023.
And Jason, do you have a second? Do you second?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna second it.
All right, so the reason I was asking is because I had a conflict at the last one, so as long as it passes without my vote.
I know. I know. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm fine with as long as the conditions, everything were approved last night by the plan commission. Everything, I'm fine with it.
All right, I stated before I would vote only if there was a tiebreaker, so.
Okay.
You're good.
All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain. Okay.
And I
Okay,
think we should
thank you.
state for the minutes, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman,
I just said thank you, that's
yeah,
all.
what your conflict is.
Oh, for donations to a political campaign.
So the applicant, one of the principles of the applicant, actually espoused one of the principles of the applicant, memory serves, made a donation to your campaign for state representative.
Correct.
And I believe you filed with the township on a previous occasion a document, a
Yeah.
memorandum disclosing that. So we'll note that for this record. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
morning.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to ordinances and resolutions for consideration. We just did that. Is there any others? And public comment on non-agenda items. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Walker. You're limited to 3 minutes.
Yes, I'll try to be brief. I come again before you to ask to consider the purchase of the Lindell property, and wrong notes here. And I just have about 3 or 4 points that you might consider. It's not just for a park that we're asking. This land is important because for other reasons other than park. It eliminates the greenhouses and frees up the floodplain. I think that's a really important factor, that this area must have been a floodplain at one point. I think it's been backfilled over the years to put in the greenhouses. Greenhouses exacerbate the flooding conditions, as noted before, by shifting the waters across the stream and over to the Francie's property. Another point is the potential of easements up Culberson Run Valley for trails. There was once a trail up there, and it's currently not in use. If we could, I've talked to several of the landowners, and they seem to be willing to consider the easement down, which would be right along the stream at the bottom of their properties and away from their houses. Okay, the trail's in disuse, as I said. It would improve the view shed greatly because it's really an eyesore, has been an eyesore for 17 years, has not been improved in any respect other than cut the grass. So by doing this, we eliminate a derelict property, and it also shows that the supervisors care about the Lindell community. I'm sure they do. I add this in because some people probably feel that they're being neglected in this little corner of the township. But it's an important corner. You have major roads going through there. And I would like to add this to it, that we need some crosswalks in there to
All right,
protect
you have to
people
start wrapping up,
trying
Mr.
to
Walker.
go.
You have 15 seconds. You have 15 seconds left.
15 seconds. I would thank you for your time, for listening to this short dissertation. I invite you to come and look at the pictures we have. And I would respectfully request you consider looking at this in more
Thank you.
detail. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I actually have a couple. The first one I wanted to, Matt, I left you a voicemail last week with a resident concern for Hatfield Road, the bridge intersection, where there was almost a head-on collision because of the brush that was on the sides of the road. The other part of that voicemail was also regarding, I believe it was Pico cleared all the trees along Hatfield Road, and what they did is, so that the trees didn't affect their power lines, they just dropped all the dying trees. But what they did is they left them all in your right-of-way for mowing that side 10 feet. I believe we have 10 feet of the right-of-way. You can't mow along Hatfield Road now because of that. So at the very least, I know one of the neighbors called on Hatfield Road and had Pico send out subcontractors to clean up their side. But everything that's township owned and partially resident owned, but don't realize it, is covered in bigger than telephone pole size logs. So you're never going to be able to cut that brush along the right of way. So I think at the very least, we need to contact Pico and have them come and get that out of the right of way.
Okay. So pertaining to the bridge, my guys did go out there the very next day and cut back some of the brush there to assist in sight distance there.
And it's probably not just Hatfield Road that Pico dumped all those trees, just FYI. I think it was Asplin they used to cut them down, but just food for thought. It's probably going to affect you in many other locations where they cut the trees out away from the power lines.
Yeah, Pico's been using a different contractor now, other than Asplin. They've been using, I think it's Davis or something like that, but.
They used Ashplin on Rock Raymond.
They do,
Yeah, so I think they're using multiple.
yeah.
But I don't think it's fair for Pico to make it convenient for them and make it twice as hard for you, plus a safety issue. So I don't know if it's something you need the board of supervisors to sign off on a letter that gets sent to Pico. I'm not sure, but I think it has to be addressed, because you're never going to be able to cut the 10-foot right away, or even.
I will contact the Pico municipal representative and make them aware of what the issue is.
That was the first one. The second one, I might as well stick with Matt. I think this pertains to you, is we have to address this air conditioning situation with the leaking ducts. And I think we have to, I mean, we've kicked this can now for 2 years, and nothing has gotten done. So I guess, who would be better to speak on this, Matt or Luke? And what do we need to authorize? Do you just need?
There's the last time the board had an action item before them was a proposal to replace the ductwork on the police side of the building with a insulated ductwork. That was a proposal that was prepared by the HVAC professionals at Pannoni. At that time, the board tabled that action in exploring using mastic to seal the pipes, not replace, but in place, seal them. And Supervisor Winters, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Have we received a quote to perform the work?
He said he sent it in, and then, but you said you haven't got it, and he was supposed to be coming down to schedule a meeting with Matt. But as far as starting it, whether it's September or working backwards, so you don't have to worry about shutting the system off. So I can get him in touch with Matt to get the proposal over to Luke, because I think it's the right solution. It'll solve the problem, and it's for a fraction of the cost with the warranty. Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. But
Right. So I'll give you staff's perspective on this. We prepared a proposal, and we were blessed with a 3-member board that includes an expert in HVAC who recommended a different solution that was cheaper. And so the staff's recommendation to fix the problem was tabled. However, there's been, we don't have a quote to do the other solution. And
So my recommendation at this point is, I know Jason has a contact. Why don't at the very least we get two others that will give you the three and put this to bed? Because I mean, he's got a company that will do mastic and wrapping and give a warranty. So we already know that that's on the table. Let's at least get two other estimates in the next, I don't know, what, 2-3 weeks and get something resolved for this, because this has been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing, and every year we say we're gonna address it and it never gets.
Well, if you don't, as a friendly suggestion, as a course forward, I expect, although I have not seen this proposal, to be in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. Does that sound appropriate?
What did you say? What range?
5,000 to 6,000?
No, I think with the warranty, it's the range for what? For the whole project?
Yeah.
The whole project, I believe, was for the report and everything was like 25.
Okay. So the reason I asked that question is because that puts it well
Under the
below the
threshold.
threshold for 3 telephonic bids. I would suggest if we could just get the proposal in hand,
we're
it's
over the
within
I'll
my
get it
spending
to you.
authority.
I can get it to you today. I can't believe you haven't gotten it.
Yeah. If I had it in hand, I could approve it. It's within my spending authority. We could get it done tomorrow.
25,000?
2,500.
No, it's 20, he just said he thought 25,000.
25,000.
So you,
For the whole project.
that's why I say we gotta get Supervisor Winter's estimate in from his contact, and then let's get two other ones and bring it to the board at the next meeting.
At that point, we would have to do sealed competitive bids,
Or then we can have Pinoni do the sealed bids for it then.
which is right back where we were when we made
I understand, but this is the third year this has been going on. I mean,
Okay.
how much longer before we have more and more damage? We gotta get this resolved.
Okay.
I believe they're ready to start, though, the week that Chief and them weren't there, but, I mean, but then they had to finish another job, though, but it's not going to do any good if you don't have a proposal. I mean, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You okay?
I'll
with
make sure I get on that for you.
Authorizing Pinoni to do sealed bids with this?
Well, let me just add one thing. It may be a maintenance project that doesn't require bidding, but I'll have to understand exactly what it is and then
Right,
give you advice on that.
I would like to get this, I would like to get the one bid that we know is floating out someplace in space and review that bid. What is the, what is the threshold on not needing to go through the engineer bidding process?
I would use round numbers because I don't know precisely. At
21,000.
about 10,000, you need to get 3 bids. At about 20,000, you need to have sealed competitive
Correct.
bids.
Okay,
At
so-
about 24,000, you must pay prevailing wage, with the important note that depending on the scope of the work, the solicitor may determine that it is exempt from some or all of those requirements.
Correct, so that's why I want to get the bid so we can, in hand, so we can study it. Maybe we can eliminate something that brings it down to a quicker solution, because having to go out and seal competitive bids, you're looking months.
Well, again, we gotta do something, so I'm
Right,
just
well,
trying
we
to.
got to get the quote in hand.
But if we already know that one quote's gonna be over the competitive, we're just going to. be
Right.
going-
Okay, so-
But you
so
don't know
it-
what's included in it.
But it's an action item that's gonna have to wait till another supervisor meeting before we can get,
So
that's all I'm saying.
there's more differences between what staff originally proposed as a solution and where we are today. The price points aside, also a strategy for addressing the problem is different. The original staff proposal was to replace the ductwork with an insulated pipe product. The board's counteroffer, so to speak, in terms of exploring, was sealing the existing ductwork in place to provide, to keep air from escaping. So it looks like both solutions are going to be above $20,000. Even before I can put together a proposal on I suppose the mastic approach, if with a warranty, it would be lower total cost. Should we proceed with getting a proposal to the board on the mastic solution or on the ductwork
Well, I thought we already had a ballpark for the for the insulated duct from Panoni. I thought we already had some rough, or Matt maybe gave us rough numbers on that.
Yeah, that's,
We had a proposal from Panoni for the cost for engineering, and I believe there was also a cost in there for the ductwork itself, an estimate.
Yeah, and it was, yeah, that's why I remember, around $60,000-$70,000.
Right, it was close to
So,
100,000.
so all I'm saying is if it's an action item in order to get Panoni to work on something, we don't have to do it, but we can at least start the ball rolling and give an action item vote for Panoni to, if the board gives Luke authorization to go ahead and do that after this other estimate comes in. We're gonna have to do it regardless. All I'm saying is do it at a meeting, so we're not waiting another meeting just to give authorization to have Panoni do it. And if it doesn't get done this month, it doesn't get done, but at least we can start it if we're ready.
Well, I agree with all that, absolutely.
all right. Step one, secure the quote. And then
Yes.
step two, consult with the solicitor. And we will proceed towards a sealed solution that includes a sealing in place solution that includes a warranty that, as the solution.
Yeah, and if need be, I'm authorizing the approval to give Luke authorization to start that ball rolling as well, that's all.
Absolutely, no. The steps he outlined is exactly what we should do.
Should we vote on that then?
Well, I think there's too many moving parts to vote on anything. I
Right, so
think that-
it's an administrative matter.
Right, I think the bottom line is, we need to get the initial quotation from the contractor Jason suggested. I need to understand exactly what the project is, and then I'll consult with Luke, and we'll move forward as quickly as we can.
Okay, and then final, trash collection. We recently, I believe, signed an extension with AJ Belinsky. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the contract is a 5-year, 3 years, and then options to extend to year 4. We provided notice of our intent to extend to year 5, sorry, years 4 and 5 are optional. So we will have a final year with AJ Blazinski in 2024.
Okay, now, that being said, after we did that, within the last year, I'm gonna guess, Blazinski was sold. And I've been reading things online about other people's services going way downhill. Last week, neighboring developments in Applecross had their trash delayed for 5 days. That's unacceptable for a trash company to not show up for 5 days. So where are we in the contract with Blazinski for late services?
The contract includes a provision for, we can withhold payment for missed stops. I'll give you just and this is my own fault, I was on vacation last week. I don't feel like we have adequate documentation of a total number of missed stops in order to make a withholding. I mean, we say, oh, okay, you just missed this whole block, and so we're gonna take the total number of houses times the max fee we can withhold. Without any documentation, I think that's inviting a challenge from the contractor.
I haven't looked at the contract, but my advice is to send a written notification to Blazinski telling them that they breached the contract as best we can determine, and tell them on the next occasion we're going to impose the penalty.
All right, well, it's got,
Something along those lines.
yeah, I'm sorry, 5 days late is unacceptable.
Was that the whole development? Because
That was, the ones that I saw, because we're doing work, the ones
I
that
know,
I saw
right.
was, I saw Hockley, their trash was being picked up on Monday. Trago, their trash was being picked up on Monday. Norland, their trash was being picked up on Monday. Those are just the ones that I
that's
saw.
a week late then.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it's 6 days technically, Tuesday's
Well,
trash.
7 days, Tuesday,
yeah, yeah.
it's the 7th day.
So those are just the ones that I saw while I was working on that street. And the week before, their trash cans sat in the street, the entire week. So the residents just left them on the street.
So I was out of town on trash day 2 weeks ago. Was there not a major storm event so my understanding of the sequence of events, not having been present, was that there was a storm, they ceased collection, they did not return to collection. And while I'm not going to say it's an acceptable, if they had to stop, they should have returned the very next day. That said, the reason that they ceased collection on the day was due to a weather event.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that, but like I said, 6 days, 7 days later, that's unacceptable. Especially with a contract. All right, so those are my items right now.
Jason, you have anything else?
Nope. No, I don't.
Okay. Under notices, the Board of Supervisors held an executive session on July 20th to discuss personnel and legal matters. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.